Hello and welcome to the Talent Mindset, hashtag Talent in Talks, a unique dialogue series co-curated by LinkedIn Talent Solutions and the Economic Times HR World. In the wake of a resilient future, talent has become a catalyst for conversation and a strategic business imperative for competitive advantage. Featuring top voices from the industry, this conversation will explore the transformative journey of talent management. In this dynamic discussion, leaders will unravel the roadmap to navigate the delicate landscape by sharing the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities. I'm super excited to welcome Sanjeev Singh, CEO and MD, CMS IT Services, and Santosh D'Souza, Regional Business Head, LinkedIn Talent Solutions, South India, for the Power Dialogue. Folks, let's embrace this conversation about unlocking the future of talent management. Santosh, over to you.
I'd obviously like to start by asking Sanjeev your views, right, on this. What does talent mindset mean to you, right? And what is, if I had to ask you, as per you, what are the three most important tenets of building a talent mindset in your organization as the CEO of the company?
Yeah. So probably, let me explain to you what a talent mindset is through the three tenets, that I believe are very important especially for an industry like ours. One is that it's very important for all of us leaders in this industry to understand that if you want to get superior business results, you need to have a very strong talent team. If you do not have a great team of leaders and people in your organization, it is impossible for you to achieve the outcomes that you want to achieve. So that's point number one. The second one is it's extremely important for all of us, especially leaders, to spend enough time growing our people, coaching our people, mentoring our people, and so on. If you're not spending at least 15-20% of our time helping people become better in their current jobs and for their future jobs, I think we're not doing a good job as leaders. And the third thing I think that's very important for any organization is, are we building a sufficient pool of talent that is ready to take up roles that will come up in future? Because it's all about, one, how do you create great career paths for your people? But I think it's also important to kind of build your talent internally as against filling up all the positions by hiring people from outside. So you have to invest in people and ensure that you have a ready pool of people for taking up positions that open up going forward in any organization.
Today, CEOs worldwide are increasingly getting involved in talent management affairs, working hand in hand with HR in devising and executing sort of talent strategies. So the question to you I have is, what are some of the major sort of talent bottlenecks faced in your industry? You're an IT services industry, and I know it has its ups and downs, right? And how are you personally, along with, of course, your team, devising a talent strategy to sort of overcome these bottlenecks?
We have as an industry is the fact that we employ large number of people and we work at a certain attrition number, and just the numbers required to backfill is very significant. And that combined with the fact that you're growing as an industry and as a company, just means that you are hiring a lot of people. So it does not matter whether the economy is growing or not. An IT services company is always hiring a large number of people every month. It's not easy, right? And of course, you have to set up the whole machinery to achieve that outcome, but the numbers are very large.
Yeah.
The second one is that obviously you have a shortage of talent, especially in emerging areas. There are a lot of technologies where you don't have sufficient number of people available to be hired, right?
Yeah.
Less, your demand is always more than the supply for a large number of skill sets. Salaries can oftentimes be very unreasonable. And in a situation where demand is more than supply, you always have the issue of you made 100 offers, you don't know how many of them will join you. So there's always that joining ratio or drop rate that you worry about. And from that perspective, actually the biggest strategy, the most important strategy I have from recruitment perspective is to have improved retention. If I am able to retain my people, I have to hire less number of people, right? Now, it might sound a little odd, but the retention is the biggest strategy I have from recruitment perspective, right? And then, of course, you have to work with the different channels, hiring channels, different data-driven strategies, and so on. So you've got to run an optimized hiring engine to be able to get the right outcome from the hiring channels.
Your employer brand is the face of your company in the talent marketplace. It's evident that the success of your branding strategy defines your hiring outcomes, which you just spoke about. So how has your organization, especially now under your leadership, established its voice in today's highly competitive talent marketplace?
From the marketing or from branding perspective, there are two things which are very important. As a company, are we producing the right outcomes, the right financial outcomes that an organization is expected to produce? And number two, people who work for us, do they take pride in working for us? I think to me, these are two big indicators of, or these are two big drivers of what brand you can establish. The word of mouth, from people who are working for you is much more important than anything else. So we have great traction. We've improved the quality of communication, both internally and externally. We've, of course, created a solid team. We've hired solid leaders who enjoy great credibility and reputation in this space. So that is how we are thinking about it right now. At some point in time, I think, we will look at far more number of levers. But right now, the whole branding and employer brand is all about producing the right business outcomes and ensuring that we engage with people and manage their careers in a way that they enjoy working for the company and they take a lot of pride working for the company.
My personal take on employer brand is, your employees and your leaders are your biggest brand ambassadors, right? And they are the ones who actually talk about your brand, and the work they do actually should sort of speak for itself. So it's good. I think that journey started. I'd like to, probably talk about the next topic, which is on AI, right? I think it's the buzzword. AI has the potential to perform a lot of some of these cognitive functions that are usually mundane, right? And, which we associate with the human mind. Can businesses leverage this technology to align recruitment outcomes with corporate goals and strategy? So how do you think AI can play a role in overall talent strategy, be it from recruitment or from a point of, say, upskilling and learning, which, I know is something which you're very passionate about?
Technology is coming in to our rescue in a very, very significant manner. Today, the fact that technology can be intuitive allows us to run processes, including the recruitment process, in a way that can eliminate a lot of errors that we could be doing otherwise. The subjective factors, the unconscious bias, all of them can be reasonably, sort of eliminated if the design of the process is done appropriately. And then the whole ability of technology to go beyond assessing you on hard skills, but also be able to assess you on the softer skills and your personality profiling, makes it much more exciting as far as the recruitment process is concerned. So I'll just maybe give you an example or a use case.
Sure.
IT industry is, a big part of the IT industry is focused on serving global clients, right? It's great for the country. It's that's the big area when we think about the IT services sector. I mean, you'll be surprised, or probably you'll not be surprised, that a lot of our talented leaders who are immensely successful serving a global client, a client based out of the US or UK or some other place, might be completely inadequate and incompetent to manage an Indian client. India market is different. Indian clients are different. They're very street smart. It requires a very different personality to manage an Indian client, right? So the whole personality trait becomes a very big part of who can do what job or who should be assigned what responsibility. And I think technology is evolving in a manner where in the recruitment process, you can actually do a reasonable profiling of the person. And of course, it's not that you don't do the interviews, you still meet, but now you have one more data point to triangulate with and sort of, create more accuracy around your hiring process in terms of, the fitment between who you have selected and what is required for the open job position. So very exciting times. And I think this is still evolving and this will continue to get better. But technology can play a very important role in sort of making the whole hiring decisions more accurate.
Yeah, the next question is around skills, right? And we're also seeing that, companies today are widening their horizon to hire candidates from non-IT backgrounds, etc., right? Typically, if it was, IT companies, you wanted IT backgrounds. And of course, they're hiring from non-IT and then upskilling them. And it's, of course, driven by the fact that there are skill shortages, attrition is high, as you said. And of course, there's also growing demand for soft skills. Additionally, I think over the last 18 months or so, or 2 years, I've personally seen that there's a lot of diversity first hiring also making inroads. So you want to, companies have realized, and especially the C-suite, that for companies to grow, you need a diverse workforce, right? And so that's there as well. So I think the IT industry, in a way, has warmed up to the idea of expanding, its footprint to pursue the skilled talent. And also, of course, from tier 2, tier 3, I in fact recently saw an article where a lot of our tech talent is actually going to be in places like Warangal and Visakhapatnam, etc., all of those places. So the question to you is, how would you sort of, as a CEO, work with your teams to identify skill gaps within your workforce? And how do you find that sweet spot between buying talent, which could be important for you right at that point of time, and building on talent? So how do you make that decision between build and buy?
As far as build versus buy decision is concerned, actually, I don't have to take a decision. It's always build if it is possible. So I believe that any opportunity that comes up in any organization, we should maximize, how internal talent can be deployed into those roles. I mean, there is benefit or value you can measure, if you are upskilling people or cross-skilling people and moving them into any position that opens up. But the unquantifiable benefit of moving people internally and growing people internally is just far too much. I mean, it's infinite benefits, right? You're growing people, their loyalty is higher, their attritions are lower, their salaries will be growing much faster than if they were, versus if they were working in a different company. But if you're growing people internally, for the company, the cost is lower, right? Compared to if you decide to hire from outside.
Yeah. One last question, Sanjeev. This is around cost, right? And as for an HR leader, HR historically, and maybe not today for sure, historically has been a support function, right? When I joined LinkedIn around 12 years back, and when I met HR leaders, they were like, we don't get an audience with the CEO. It's everything else comes first and HR last. I think times have changed. Right. And today, I'm sure HR leaders have a seat on your table, right, as the CEO. How do you sort of, and I'm sure there are certain tools which your HR leaders come to you and say, hey, Sanjeev, I think we need sort of investment in these tools from an upskilling point of view, hiring, engagement, comp and benefit, or whatever, right? Overall talent management. How do you sort of evaluate and take a call like, is this a good investment to make what's your take on any investment from an HR standpoint, from a technology standpoint as well, which will impact obviously your teams?
Yeah. So, and I mean, the first thing is that, for an industry like ours, the whole talent management or the whole talent acquisition is not necessarily a cost function. The cost to business for not having people on time, or the cost to business for having attrition which is higher than optimal, is so huge and it's so large. So I don't think we should make the mistake of, purely from financial P&L perspective, it appears as a cost line item because HR does not earn revenues or talent acquisition team does not earn revenues. But I think, they absolutely contribute to revenues, especially the talent acquisition team. So I think we should not look at, in fact, if you think about it, in most of the IT sector, right, IT services sector, talent acquisition does not roll up into HR. It rolls up into the CO organization or on the business side, right?
Yes.
Because of the fact that it's actually revenues depend highly on, absolutely, right? Now, looking at, how do we evaluate, which one we should go for and which one we should not go for? I think each business case has to be evaluated based on its own merit.
Sure.
I don't think there is any thumb rule. I mean, you've got to look at, what value proposition we are talking about. You've got to look at what is the investment. You've got to look at, what is the return you can get. You have to look at, also, from the point of view of, the investments could be upfront and the benefits will happen over the next 3 years and so on. But you can find ways of structuring it from the financial and from the P&L perspective. So on what technology to bring in and what not to bring in, I think, each business case has to be evaluated. But I can tell you, the best of ideas may turn out to be bad ideas, not because they were bad ideas. A lot of ideas fail because we don't execute them well. So I think, in addition to taking a decision, I think a lot of focus has to be on executing that project well, which sort of with very strong governance, where you are able to achieve the outcome that you need to achieve. So that's really how I look at it.
Thank you again, Sanjeev, for sharing all your valuable insights. I'm sure all the viewers who see this recording will gain a lot of insights from this. And hopefully there'll be some key takeaways for each of them as they implement some of the things which you said in their respective organizations. Thank you.
So thank you, leaders. It's been an incredibly insightful and engaging conversation. Viewers, I hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration from this discussion. The power of virtual conversations is phenomenal. It helps us to stay connected, share, and learn from each other. So folks, do remain engaged, stay inquisitive, and continue to create a beneficial influence within your individual domains. Until next time, goodbye.